Hello amigos, Dr. Brunicky. Today we're going to take a look at how the imperfect past tense works in Spanish. We're going to take a look at AR verbs, ER and IR verbs, and some irregular ones, along with an explanation of when we use the imperfect past tense. Vamos a empezar. So what is the imperfect past tense? It's used for repeated past actions, or ongoing actions in the past, or habitual past actions. Some instances include appearance, age, condition, emotion, attitude, location, date, time, and weather. There's another past tense called the preterite that you may have seen, and eventually you're going to be learning when to use the imperfect or when to use the preterite, and I've got another video for that. But in this video, we're just going to take a look at how do we conjugate the imperfect and what are its uses. All right, here's some important words to keep in mind. Siempre, always. Con frecuencia, frequently. A veces, sometimes or at times. De vez en cuando, from time to time, also sometimes. A menudo, often. Todos los días, every day. Cada viernes, every Friday, each Friday. Alright, let's take a look at how we conjugate AR verbs. So we're going to drop the ending, and then we'll give us our root, and then we're going to add the endings aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, aban. Yo hablaba, I spoke or was speaking. Tú hablabas. Él usted hablaba. Nosotros hablábamos. Vosotros hablabais. Ellos ustedes hablaban. Notice that the yo form and the he, she form have the same conjugation. And also notice on the nosotros form, we've got an accent on the middle A there. And these endings are not completely new to us, as in the present tense of AR verbs, we've seen the AS for the to ending, the A, the amos, the ice, and the on endings. But now they're just used a little bit differently to give us a different meaning, talking about what you did in the past tense. A classic example could be cuando yo era niño, yo no hablaba español. When I was a child, I didn't speak Spanish, or I spoke Spanish if you took the no out. But anyway, so when I was a child, there's no specific start or stop point to that time period, and knowing or not knowing Spanish, there's not a specific time period to that, and that would be an example of using the imperfect past tense in Spanish. Alright, let's take a moment to do some practice then. So you can just pause the video, and in just a moment I'm going to give you the answers here. But I want to say, number one, my teacher always spoke. Number two, sometimes I swam. Number three, frequently we practiced. Number four, from time to time my parents watched. And number five, did you play often? Okay, so we're going to go over the answers here. Numero uno is going to be hablaba. Número dos, nadaba. Número tres, practicábamos. Número cuatro, miraban. Número cinco, jugabas. Okay, let's take a look at how ER and IR verbs are conjugated. They're going to have some type of ia ending, and notice that the I always has an accent on it. And a little bit later I'm going to show you what it means if you forget to put that I on there. But anyways, again, we're going to drop our ER, IR, that's going to give us our root, and then we'll add on the endings ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, and ian. So yo tenía, I had. Tú tenías. Él usted tenía. Nosotros teníamos. Vosotros teníais. Ellos ustedes tenían. So our example sentence, cuando yo tenía 10 años, yo asistí a la escuela de San Miguel. So when I was 10 years old, or when I had 10 years in Spanish, so we use the imperfect when we talk about age and tener. Yo asistí a la escuela de San Miguel. I attended St. Michael's School. It's an ongoing period of time, so here we can use the imperfect past tense. let's try a practice with the ER and the IR. So if you want to try the practice, just hit the pause button and give it a try. Otherwise, I'll go over the answer in just a few moments, but I'll explain in English what we're conjugating, what we're saying. Numero uno, mi maestra siempre. I want to say my teacher always ate. Numero dos, sometimes I wrote. Number three, with frequency, we read. Numero cuatro, from time to time, my parents came. And numero cinco, did you often have homework? All right, here's our conjugations. Numero uno, comía. Número dos, escribía. Número tres, leíamos. Número cuatro, venían. Número cinco, tenías. All right, let's keep moving on here. Then there are three imperfect verbs that are irregular. There's only three that are irregular in the entire tense. That's very different from the present tense that has many irregulars, the preterite tense that has many irregulars. There's only three that are irregular. So we're going to take a look at two of the most important ones, and I'll explain the third one, which is only slightly irregular. But anyways, ir, to go. You're going to use that one quite a bit, and notice that it's very irregular. It's some type of iba ending. But again, we've seen endings similar to this before with the to form ending in as, the he, she ending in a, the amos, the ice, the on. Very similar to an AR verb ending in the present tense. So we got yo iba, but I went or I used to go. Ibas, iba, ibamos, ibais, and iban are conjugations. So an example could be yo iba a la piscina mucho en el verano. I went to the pool a lot in the summer, and that would be an example of how the imperfect would be used for repeated past actions. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at the verb ser, to be. And this one's very irregular. But again, notice that the endings are pretty similar to an AR verb in the present tense, other than the yo form. But yo era, saying I was or I used to be. So our conjugations are era, eras, era, éramos, erais, eran. Again, notice how the yo form and the he, she form are the same conjugation. Also notice that the nosotros form has an accent on the first e, and the same thing with the last one on íbamos. The accent was on that first I. An example of the imperfect with ser could be when you tell time, they use the imperfect. So eran las 8 de la mañana. So since ocho is plural, then it goes to eran. And it doesn't translate very well between the languages, but eran las 8 de la mañana. In English, we would say it was 8 in the morning. All right, the other one is ver. That's irregular. And that one's only slightly irregular. It goes to veía for the yo form. And the only reason why it's different is ver, veía. It keeps the e instead of dropping out. And I believe the reason that is because if we had the word via, via could be a way or a train track. And so instead of having via, the ver goes to veía. So it just has an extra e in it. And that's just slightly irregular. That's the third one that's irregular, the third verb. All right, let's take a look here. Some phrases that you can translate to practice. Some are regular, some are irregular. Kind of mix and match them here. But anyways, hit the pause button if you want to give this a try. And then I'm going to go over the answers in just a few moments here. So numero uno, I want to say I went. So I'm going to use ir, I'm going to use iba. Iba a la tienda muchas veces. Okay, numero dos, we always watch TV. Nosotros siempre mirábamos la tele. Or we could also use ver. We could say nosotros veíamos. Nosotros siempre veíamos la tele. Okay, numero tres, I liked. I'm going to say me gustaba. Me gustaba jugar videojuegos. So remember with gustar, we're going to use the third person singular or the third person plural form of the verb. Since to play is one verb, we're going to use third person singular. So gustaba and me, because I'm receiving the action. If I just had I liked video games, then I'm going to change it to gustaban. I'm going to have me gustaban los videojuegos. Okay, numero cuatro. She was my friend. in elementary school. So ella era mi amiga en la escuela primaria. And numero 5, if I want to say I was 10 years old, remember in Spanish we're going to use tener, we're going to say I had 10 years. So I'm going to say yo tenía 10 años. Okay, those are our practice activities there. Let's keep moving on. Okay, here's some other information to keep in mind. So to say there was or there were is going to be a really important verb, and in the present tense we're going to use I, H-A-Y, to say there was or there were, and it's coming from the verb haber. And so since in the present tense it doesn't matter if our item is singular or plural, in Spanish in the imperfect tense that doesn't matter either. So había is going to mean there was or there were. It's both singular and plural, and it's coming from haber, and so here it's a regular verb, but in the present tense it's an irregular verb. Alright, another important one that we need the accent on I'm going to show you here is tenía is the correct way to say it for what we're talking about here. It means I had, or he had, or she had, or it had, or the usted form, you formal had. But notice if I don't put my accent on tenía, then it's tenía, and that changes the meaning to tapeworm. So that's a really different meaning, so that's why it's so important to make sure you have your accent there. Okay, a couple other things to be aware of. Juego in the present tense, I played. Notice it's a stem changer, it's irregular, but not so in the imperfect. It's not one of the three irregulars, so then it's going to be jugaba, I played, or he played, or she played. And same thing for the preterite, we've got an irregular from querer, quise. I wanted or I tried to do something but couldn't, or wanted to do something but I couldn't, quise. And then notice in the imperfect, it's regular, quería. So in the present tense, there's a lot of irregulars, there's stem changers, there's exceptions to the rule. Same thing in the preterite, a lot of exceptions to the rule, a lot of stem changers, irregularities. But in the imperfect, that's not the case. In the imperfect, the majority of the verbs are regular, and they follow either the AR or the ER or IR conjugation rules, except ir goes to some type of IBA, ser goes to some type of era, and ver goes to some conjugation of veía. So those are the only three that are irregular in the entire imperfect tense. Alright, gracias por mirar. Thanks for watching. You've been watching Learning Spanish with Dr. L. And remember that if you subscribe, it gives you free access to all my videos. Alright, hasta pronto.